Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters. Japan was forced to postpone the Olympic Games because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Two major events were to be based at Fukushima. How better to show the world that Japan has fully recovered from the 2011 earthquake and nuclear accident that contaminated the area. Well, Constantin Simon is our reporter. Constantin, Fukushima ready perhaps, but I understand there were still areas which could not be entered by humans.
Yes, exactly. It's important to remember that the Japanese government put enormous effort into decontamination. Whenever I travel to Fukushima, I always notice the number of bags you see along the roads containing contaminated soil that's been removed. But that's not enough, because as you'll see in the report, radioactivity fluctuates. There are cities that are still evacuated, where inhabitants cannot return because of radioactivity. That's where our reporters starts. I was lucky to be able to go to Okuma. You need special permission and to be accompanied by a resident to visit these areas that are pretty exceptional and have remained exactly the same since the 2011 earthquake.
Constantin Simon, thank you very much indeed. Let's take a look then at his report.
Located just 7 kilometers from the stricken nuclear plant, most of Okuma is still a ghost town. All of Okuma's 10,300 residents had to evacuate in 2011 after the triple meltdown. Even now, around 90% of the town remains off limits because radiation levels are still too high. With no humans around, nature has taken over. Like all former Okuma residents, Murai is permitted to visit his old neighbourhood for a few hours a day, up to 30 times a year. For the past 9 years, he's looked on helplessly as the town where he was born fell into disrepair. Time stopped in this town on the 11th of March 2011 at 2:46 p.m, the moment a massive earthquake plunged large parts of Japan into chaos. It wasn't long before criminals took advantage. Okuma is proof that decontaminating Fukushima is far from over. Almost everywhere in this region, contaminated topsoil has been removed and placed into millions of bags in one of the biggest clean-up missions ever undertaken. To showcase this achievement, Fukushima was chosen to host events at the Tokyo Olympics, now scheduled to begin in July 2021. This stadium near Fukushima City will host baseball, Japan's most popular sport. In a well-orchestrated campaign, organisers aim to convince the world that life is back to normal in Fukushima and that Japan is making a fresh start. Murai, who is 69, returns to his old house in the no-go zone. He's not permitted to live there and must wear protective clothing during his occasional visits. For 9 years, wild boar and raccoons have been spotted roaming abandoned streets and houses. Murai lived in temporary housing for 8 years after the disaster. He's accepted that he'll probably never live in this house again.
もう40人も育てたやつが全部なくなったんだからね。 一回やる気なくなったね。だからオリンピックってね、まあ東京とかあっちにいる人らはまあそういうお祭り騒ぎだけども、東北の人はそのおかげでどんだけ苦労してかってことよ。あと今オリンピックのためにみんな建築業者は出稼ぎ行ってるし、みんなこの進まないってことだよ。だから結局この除染するって言ったって除染する人間がいないんだから。
The green-fingered Mirai spent many hours tending his garden, but that too has been abandoned.
あれ、イノシシ。うん。ああ、危なかったね。うん、これ踏むと線量が高い。
The time has come for us to leave. Our dosimeter shows we've received a cumulative dose of 3 microsieverts in the 2 hours we've been here. Although that's about the same as a dental X-ray, continuous exposure to radiation at this level is banned in France. As we leave the no-go zone, we're stopped at a checkpoint.
はい、おはようございます。
Everything is tested for radiation levels, from humans to their cars.
はい、終了しました。C'est bon? 大丈夫?
We head to another part of Okuma that was reopened a year ago. Here, Mirai lives in one of 50 newly built houses.
寝室にまだこれぎっちら。
As a retiree, Mirai pays a modest €150 a month in rent. Like other people displaced by the nuclear disaster, he received a one-off compensation payment of €170,000 from Tokyo Electric Power.
精神的なことある程度自分の個人的財物とかね、うちに関係なく、もしピアノあったらですわ。仏壇だったら仏壇300万すれば仏壇は300万保証できるし。
Today, only 2% of Okuma's residents have returned, mostly older people who want to see out their days in their old homes. There are some signs of activity though, including 2 new convenience stores and a town hall that seems almost too big for this small community.
ほら、俺食ってみろ。
はい、こごみつけてくれたの。はい、こごみって知ってます？
Mirai and his neighbours are happy their time in nuclear limbo is settling down. But returning to the lives they once led in Okuma, surrounded by nature, is now a distant dream. The disaster also shattered the dreams of this cattle farmer, whom we met months earlier. He knows only too well how lives can be transformed in an instant. His 300 cows were contaminated by radiation in 2011, but he defied a government order to put them down. Instead, he continues to feed them, even though he can't slaughter them and sell their meat. He spends 5 hours a day caring for his cows, motivated only by his love for the animals.
経済的には全くナンセンスなんだけど、でも、命ある動物としてね、ここに幸せな牛がいると思う。寿命ある限りここで餌を与え、頑張っていくんだというそういう場所なの。
Yoshizawa, who runs the farm with his wife, depends on donations to keep going.
あんまりいい出来だからね。なんかちょっとケチつくやんなくなってさ。
それこそこれやれば放射能はなくなるとかね。
国に対するさ、原発事故の後の反省を持たない国に対するその抗議抵抗のまあ生きたシンボルとしての牛の生かす意味なの。
The farmer turned activist now drives around in his truck, blaring out anti-nuclear messages and music.
官邸、安倍総理大臣のいる首相官邸や、国会議事堂周辺をもう何遍も乗り込んでいって大きな音を出して走ってる、3.11 は終わっていないと、原発事故は終わっていないと、浪江町福島を忘れるなと、そして大勢の東京の人たちにね、特に福島の電気に頼りながら福島をいじめるなと、差別するなと。I am cowboy。レジスタンス、神風。
The campaign against nuclear energy is combined with protests against the Olympics. Activists say the Games should be cancelled because of the high cost. The postponement of Tokyo 2020 and the coronavirus outbreak have made them even more determined. Last autumn, Greenpeace said it had identified radiation hotspots in the car park next to the stadium that'll host the Olympic flame at the start of the torch relay. This, it said, made the area hazardous for spectators and runners.
We found radioactive hotspots along the road in the car park. Hotspot of 71 microsieverts an hour, that's over 1,700 times higher than the levels here before the accident. The situation here is clearly far from normal, and the Japanese government's cynical use of the Olympics is an outrage.
Although authorities have since decontaminated the site, it's difficult to keep radiation levels within safe limits as the wind and rain continues to spread contamination. Experts say that forests, which cover 75% of Fukushima Prefecture, will continue to have high radiation levels for at least 300 years. Most concern centres on the infamous Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. It'll take TEPCO at least 40 years to decommission the plant. Behind these new buildings, melted nuclear fuel resting inside the reactor cores is still so highly radioactive that no humans can go near it. TEPCO keeps the fuel cool by feeding water into the damaged reactors. That means the huge quantities of water also become radioactive. To prevent it from infiltrating groundwater and creating a new source of contamination, the toxic water is pumped out and stored in these tanks. Much of the plant's site is now covered in tanks full of an estimated 1 million tons of water. TEPCO is running out of space.
当時は400トン、500トン毎日増えてたのをここまで減らしてるんですね。100、150グラムに減らしてきました。ただゼロにはできないので、燃料を冷やしてで建物がある限りは増える量っていうのはまだまだ続きます。
Japan's government has hinted it will release the contaminated water into the Pacific Ocean from 2022, a move supported by the International Atomic Energy Agency. The water, they say, will be diluted in the sea. But local fishermen and most Fukushima residents oppose the plan. In nearby Okuma, people are marking Obon, a festival to celebrate one's ancestors. Emboldened by servings of sake, about 80 employees of the nuclear plant and TEPCO PR officials try to rebuild ties with the local community.
もう卵投げつけられる人もいましたし、安全が確保できないぐらいの、今も苦しいんですけど、まだまだ皆さん避難されてる方たくさんいらっしゃると思ってるんですけど、やらせていただけるっていう状況になってきたってことは本当に嬉しいですね。
Obon connects Japanese people with their ancestors and their land that the nuclear accident took away from them. They'll be here for just a few hours. Most will probably never live here again.
なんか昔に帰ったみたいな感じがします。こんなに人が戻ってきたんだなと思って、すごいなんか感無量というかなんか嬉しい気持ちです。
Mirai, the gardening enthusiast, is also here. He hasn't seen this many people in Okuma for a long time.
ここにふるさとするのは結局自分の生まれ育ったところみたいな。だから鮭が海さ出て帰ってくると同じよ。生まれ育ったところがふるさとなんだよ。この場所じゃなくても場所は駅前だけども期間こんな区域だけどもやっぱりその周りは全部ふるさとなのよ。鮭が孵化して育ったところが多くなる。
But Mirai is a rare breed. Across this part of Fukushima, less than 20% of people who evacuated have returned to their homes. Tens of thousands of others have built new lives elsewhere. For them, this is a place they can no longer call home.
And Constantin Simon is still with us. Constantin, thank you so much for your report. I think we come back to the same issue every time because there are so many questions, but it comes back to the same thing. Would Fukushima have been safe, ready to receive people to come and see events at the Olympics?
Alors, selon le gouvernement, oui, évidemment, mais selon les activistes que vous avez
Yes, according to the government, yes. But as you saw in the report, activists say that it's not the case. The real problem is not for people like journalists who come for a few days or even people who are attending the Olympics. It's more for the people who live in Fukushima. That's where regular exposure over the long term to high levels of radioactivity make human presence impossible, at least in certain areas near the reactor.
En tout cas, dans certaines zones proches de la centrale.
And Constantin, 10 years after the Fukushima disaster, 2021, that's when the Games are now set to be staged. It lends even more symbolism to it, doesn't it?
Yes, the debate about Fukushima has evolved. We no longer talk about the Olympic Games as just a post-Fukushima rebirth, but also as a post-COVID rebirth. Delaying the Olympic Games created a lot of problems in Japan, especially for the mayor of Tokyo. The mayor recently raised the topic, and you can see the evolution of the debate on coronavirus as it relates to the Olympic Games. The mayor recently raised the topic, and you can see how the debate on coronavirus has changed as it relates to the Olympic Games.
2020年、現実には2021年に。
We want to make the 2020 Games, well, in reality it will be 2021 Summer Games, in Tokyo an event that's safe and feels safe being part of. We will strive to make it a symbol of human triumph over the novel coronavirus.
に打ち勝った、人類が打ち勝った。
Madame Coquet, the mayor, very quickly, Constantin, it must be something, though, that all Japanese people are really looking forward to.
Oui, évidemment, il y a une très grande attente pour.
Yes, of course. But people in Fukushima are also worried that once the Olympic Games and the 10-year anniversary of the Fukushima disaster in March 2021 are finished, they ask, will the efforts at rebuilding the city continue? Some of the inhabitants of Fukushima are worried about that.
Certaines inquiétudes dont témoignent certains habitants à Fukushima.
Constantin Simon, thank you very much indeed. You can see his report again via our website, france24.com. This is Reporters on France 24. Stay with us, but most of all, stay safe.